Hey, what is going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the 6-game CSGO main slate on Tuesday. Yes, CSGO. I know you guys haven't heard me say that in a while, but we finally got the main teams back. I know a lot of you follow me for NBA, NFL, PGA, but esports are still here, and there's still money to be made. So if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports daily fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the breakdown, just want to say again, thank you guys for all support. We are now at 4.23 thousand subscribers. It is all free content, so the easiest way to support me is hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell just so you know when I upload and when I go live. I also upload on Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below if you can't watch the videos. It's the DK DFS show. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So yeah, really excited to talk about CSGO, and we got a nice 6-game slate here. So let's do it. Let's go over the odds first before we get into the team-by-team breakdown. So we have Big, the new #1 team in the world, the German team. They're looking really, really good going up against Sprout. They're minus 600 favorites. Now, I'll talk about them more in a sec, but Sprout's a team that has given them trouble. So I think there's a chance there could be an upset there. OG and NIP, this one's projected to stay close. NIP are minus 180 favorites. Fnatic and Astralis. Astralis just got Bubsky from Mad Lions. That should definitely help their roster. This one's basically a pick'em right now. Vitality and Heretics. Vitality are minus 600 favorites. Again, I don't know if I necessarily agree with them, with Vitality and Big being minus 600 favorites. I know they've been really solid teams, but Sprout and especially Heretics. Heretics is a team that I kind of like on this slate, so we'll get to that more in a bit. And then let's go over to, there's a couple games here for NA, 100 Thieves and Gen G. 100 Thieves slate favorites at minus 155. Those teams are pretty similar. Both are, a little bit more balanced teams. And then Fira versus Chaos. Fira minus 500 favorites over Team Chaos. So normally we've been seeing a lot of 3-game CSGO slates, and the approach there is usually, a popular build is like a 2-2-2 with all the teams you think are going to win, or like a 3-3. So how the scoring works, if you guys are new to CSGO and want to try it out tomorrow, let's go over to the scoring real quick. So you get plus 1.5 points for a kill, plus 1 for assist, and then minus 1 for a death. You get half a point for each first blood. And then you get some points for clutches. Like 1v2 is 1 point, 1v3 is 2, and so on. Quad kill 3, 1v5, 5 points. Ace is 5 points. And then you get a match sweep bonus. So say you win 2-0 because it's their best of 3 series. You get plus 5 plus the 15 points for the rounds not played, because there's 30 rounds in a game. And if you win that sweep, again, you get the 5 plus the half a point for the 30 rounds. So you get 20 points for a sweep. So let's get into it. Let's get into the team-by-team breakdown. We'll start with Sprout and Big. So let me go over to hltv.org. This is a website I utilize for CSGO. It has all the stats. It has all historical stats. It's a really, really good website to do some research. So Big, currently the #1 team in the world, going up against Sprout, who's number 40. But if we go down a little bit to the head-to-head history here, Sprout actually has the advantage, 7-5. So do not rule them out here. I know they're maybe not as talented, but they are a team that has played Big really, really tough. So let's get to the Sprout guys and their prices. Faven's at 6'4". That's pretty cheap for a guy that, really kind of carries this roster if you look at his kills per round. So kills per round 0.75, kills per round, deaths per round 0.62. That's really solid for a guy at 6.4K. Sure, he's going to go low owned because, what people do with CSGO is they just look at the odds and immediately just target the favorites. I don't know if that's necessarily the correct approach, especially on a slate like this. If you do a little bit of more digging, you can see, Sprout actually has the advantage over Big historically. And we'll get to Heretics too in a bit, who I actually think have a chance as well. But yeah, Faven's the guy that really stands out to me. The other options, I don't think I would go crazy here. Like, if you think the upset's going to happen, I think I'd probably just target Faven and then just avoid the big guys. The reason being, Big's going to be really popular. So if you just get that fade, right, you're already in amazing shape and maybe just one player. Like, I don't want to go crazy and go like a full stack here of Sprout. So Faven's the guy if I was going to get a little bit different. I think it's viable at that, though, at a 6.4K. On the big side, they're all priced up for a good reason. Again, they have been playing amazing Counter-Strike. Searson, Xantras, Tapson, they're big three. These guys all have enormous upside. If you look at their numbers the last 3 months, they are great. Searson is their AWPer. The AWP is the sniper. It's the best gun in the game. So whoever uses the AWP, usually it is the best player on their team. So Searson, a .74 kills round, .60 deaths round. Xantras a .75 and .61, and Tapson a .72 and .65. So all three of those are pretty similar. Tizen is hovering around a 1 KD, and same thing with Keto. So I think those guys are okay if you think big win 2-0, but 7-6 and 7-4 are still not discounts. And the three guys at the top I think are certainly viable, just because of how well Big's been playing. They're the #1 team. So if you want to go big, I have no issue getting to two of those top three guys if that's the way you want to go. Let's talk about OG and NIP. So there's a guy that really stands out to me here on OG. Again, this one is projected to stay close. NIP slight favorites -180. If you look to OG, the guy that stands out to me, if you just scroll through their roster, it is Mantu. So he is their AWPer. Again, that's always a plus for using the best gun in the game. There's only one. Usually teams only use one AWP. Every once in a while they will use two on certain setups, but Mantu's the guy for me. .72 kills per round, .58 deaths per round. I just like that a lot for their main guy, and him only being 7.2K. So I have a good amount of interest in Mantu. I think he's a really, really solid play for his price. Like, I would much rather get to him than those like really cheap big guys that are in like the set like Keto or Tyson. So yeah, it's Mantu for me. I think he looks really, really solid. Valde would be the other guy I'd consider at 6'6", but I just like the upside a bit more with Mantu. So I don't know if I go crazy with an OG stack, but I think Mantu as a one-off looks really, really good for his price. Let's roll to the NIP side. So we haven't seen a lot of these teams in a while. NIP, the issue with them is they're always more of a balanced team. So Hampus for value, I'm not going to consider him, but Plopsky, Knock, Rez, and Twist can all really take over for this team. So it always makes it a bit tricky trying to get down which one's going to have the good game. They're all priced pretty close together too. Plopsky at 7.6 and then Twist down here at 6.8. Again, I wouldn't consider Hampus. I don't really have a strong take with these guys. If you want to go with one of these NIP guys, I think they go lower owned. But again, they're a little bit more balanced. Like, I would just rather get to Mantu. We know where the production's coming from OG. Most of the time, it is going to be a big game from Mantu. So that's why I'm not overly excited about these NIP guys. Let's now move on to Vitality versus Heretic. So this one, Vitality are almost the biggest favorites, or tied for the biggest favorites at -600. And they're a really solid team. But they're a little bit more, top heavy. Like, Zywoo really carries this roster. He's one of the best CSGO players in the world currently. Like him, Simple. He really carries this team. And if you look at those numbers, it's absolutely crazy. 0.85 kills per round, 0.60 deaths per round. Now, sure, some of these numbers might be a little bit skewed because we haven't seen these teams in a while, but Zywoo's their guy. He's their AWPer. Like, he could go for easily 100 plus. So sure, you're going to have to pay a premium for him, but the upside is there with Zywoo, definitely. Now, I'm not going to get to anyone else in this team. Shox is 8.2, Apex is 7.6. That's just too expensive for these guys. I know Shox was coming on a bit before the break. Apex has had decent games too, but I prefer upside with other guys. Like RPK for value. What's his price? He's 7K. That's okay if you think Vitality win 2-0. Like, if you're targeting like those cheap guys, normally you want the 2-0 bonus. So it's kind of Zywoo for me, and that's it. But on the Heretic side, so this is where I think I'm going to be different. I actually have a good amount of interest in these Heretic guys, especially Navarra at 6K. I really like that. He is a guy that has pretty big upside, and he's played against some tough teams and put up some good numbers. So 6K is just, in my opinion, that's way too cheap. And this is a shot I'm willing to take. Now, they've been playing some lesser competition, so his numbers are a little bit skewed, right? This is not against the best competition, but it's still good to see he's getting 0.8 kills per round, 0.62 deaths per round, a 1.2 rating 2.0. He's a young, up-and-coming player, and he's 6K. So people are just going to look at the odds. They're going to see Vitality are huge favorites. They're going to play Zywoo. They're going to play someone else on Vitality side. They're going to completely ignore Heretics. I think that's incorrect. I think these guys have potential to possibly even pull off the upset. Even so, I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I don't think Vitality win easily 2-0. This Heretics team's pretty talented. So I have a good amount of interest there in Navarra, and I kind of like Maka too. Maka, however you pronounce his name. Both these guys, like, we know where the production is coming from this roster. Maka's the guy that used the AWP. I mean, his numbers went down a little bit, I think, just because Navarra's been playing so well. But I like both of them. Kiyoshima and XMS, they're more role players. I'm not going to consider them. Lucky is their third best player. He's at 5'8". I would just rather get to Navarra and Maka there for Heretic. So those two players intrigue me, and they're going to go really, really low owned at the slate because people just look at the odds, and that's it. They just target the favorites. I think Heretic has a chance in this one. Let's go to Fnatic and Astralis. So this one is basically a pick 'em right now. We have a new addition there for Astralis with Bubshi, who's actually a really good addition. Fnatic, their same old roster. So let's go to the Fnatic side first. We have Brolon at under 8K. 7-8 for Brolon looks really solid. He is their main guy. He's a very aggressive player too. He holds the power positions. I love playing players like that because when they're playing well and they get those first bloods, they really have upside to put up a massive score. So he's the guy that clearly stands out to me. I'm not going to get to Golden or JW on this one or Flusha. The only other guy I'll consider is Crims, coming in at 0.69 kills per round, 0.66 deaths per round. Again, some of these numbers might be a little bit skewed because we haven't seen them in a while. But, those are their two best players. Brolon's going to eat up a lot of ownership. If you want to get a little bit different, go Crims. I mean, Crims can definitely outscore Brolon. Wouldn't be out of their own possibility. So don't hate that idea. And those are the two I would consider. Let's talk about Astralis now. So we have Device at 9-8. Astralis has really struggled when they brought Yugi and I forget who else they had because they had a couple guys, Zipex and Glaive leave the team. Now they have Bubshki coming from Mad Lions. Bubshki, like a Brolon, is a super aggressive player. He's coming in at 8.4K. Now, what's his role going to be like with Astralis? Well, I think it's going to be him and Device. I think that's where the production is going to come from this team. Device is one of the top players in CSGO too. He can really carry the roster, uses the AWP. That's always a plus. So those are the two guys I'm really considering here. Device, Bubshi, it's a close game, so I'm not going to get to Magisk. He's their in-game leader. I'm not going to get to Dupree at 8K. S-Tag, they have him listed as out. I think he's still playing, but I'm not going to consider him. It's really, again, it's Bubshi and it's Device for me. Those are the two guys I'm looking to. Probably would give the edge to Bubshi for his price, just because he's $1,400 cheaper, but I have interest in those two guys. Let's talk about Furia versus Chaos. So this one is coming in. Furia minus 500 favorites. So they're going to be somewhat popular. The good thing with Furia is, again, we know where their production's coming from. It's those top three guys. It's Yuri, it's Caserado, and it's Henny. Henny sporting a 0.69 kills per round, 0.57 deaths per round. Caserado 0.68 and 0.58. Yuri 0.73 and 0.60. All three are priced pretty close together. Normally, I just go with whoever's the cheapest, so probably Caserado for me, but all three are very, very similar plays. Again, they're big favorites, so there's a decent chance they win 2-0 and get that 2-0 bonus, which is always a plus. So yeah, I have some interest in these guys for sure. Art is the other guy I will mention because he's a super, super aggressive player as well. If you look at his numbers, 0.73 kills per round, 0.74 deaths per round. He's just in a lot of gunfights. And he has had games where he's carried this roster and put up some big scores. So have slight interest there in Art. I think he always will go a little bit lower owned compared to these other guys. But I think he's viable. I wouldn't consider Vinny at 6'6". I mean, I guess you can consider him. Really, what you're going for in those cheap guys is you're hoping for the 2-0. But kind of where I'm going on the slate is I like the Underdog and Heretics. I think that's where I'm going to get my value with a guy like Navarra. Maybe even on the Sprout side, right, with a guy like Faven. So That's probably where I'm going to look to value, actually, which I think will be contrarian, is targeting those big underdogs, like the number one guy on the big underdog team. Talk about Chaos. I think there actually are a couple of viable plays here, too. They did win a map against Furia. Furia is clearly the better team, but you're getting really, really cheap price tags on a couple of these guys. So those two guys I like here, if I was going to take a shot on anyone on this Chaos side, it's Zeppa, who's coming in at he's 0.79 kills from 0.64 deaths per round, and then Leaf, 0.75 and 0.67. I don't think I would consider John G or Vanity or Steel. It's those two guys on the right here. Zeppa, Leaf, they're both really cheap too. 5.8 for Zeppa, 5.2 for Leaf. If these guys win a map, I think one of those guys would certainly pay off his price point. So as long as they don't get 2-0 swept easily, like the price and Zeppa and Leaf look pretty solid. So again, I think that's where I'm going for value on the slate, is with the big underdogs. So Heretics, maybe Chaos, or maybe Sprout. I just like the main guys on those teams, I think, better than like the worst player on the best team. And then finally, Gen G versus 100 Thieves. This one should be close. Two pretty evenly matched teams. 100 Thieves are minus 155 favorites. Let's talk about the Gen G side first. So Gen G was kind of struggling going into the break. I never really considered Daps. Som hasn't really been great. It's Bentent, Kusto, and Automatic that all hover, right around a 1.0 KD, just because again they were struggling. Yeah, I'd probably just go with the cheapest if I was going to target one, in Kusta at 6.6. I think it's viable, but I don't know if I'm like overly excited about these Gen G guys. I think 100 Thieves are the better team. So let's talk about 100 Thieves now. They are a little bit more balanced team, but JKS is their main guy. He has almost a 0.79 kills round, 0.63 deaths round, a 1.26 rating 2.0, and he's at 8K. I think it looks really solid. Now, the issue with this 100 Thieves team, like I mentioned, is they can be balanced at times. Like Liaz has carried this team at times. AZR has. I don't think I'm going to get to those guys, but they have had games where they've really done well for 100 Thieves. Gratisfaction is hovering around a 1.0 KD. He's their AWPer. Don't know if I'd get to him. I think Jakeem is all the guy to consider here. He's a very aggressive player. He is probably their most aggressive player. 0.73 kills per round, 0.66 deaths per round. He's coming in at 7K. So for me, on 100 Thieves, it's JKS, it's Jakeem. I think it'll look pretty solid. I do slightly favor the 100 Thieves side over the Gen G side. So finally, let's talk about some roster construction. Well, if you're going for safety, in the cash game setting, you probably just want to target the favorites. So, Big and Team Vitality and Furia, right? That's the safe route. But like I said, I kind of like the pricing on some of those underdogs. So, guy like Faven and Sprouts, a guy like Navara and Heretics, a guy like Zeppa and Leaf on Chaos. So that's, I think, where I'm going to look for value. As far as the captain spot goes, normally I want a guy that has a lot of upside. So, I think a guy like Zywoo is going to be really popular. One of those big guys in the captain spot will be pretty popular. I think the Furia guys will be pretty popular, or Device. That's where I think a lot of ownership will go in the captain spot. It's just one of those main guys. Now, like I mentioned, you could go with someone cheaper and one of those underdogs and hope they have a really solid game, like a Maka, Navara. Like, I don't hate the idea of really going Navara in captain spot. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm going to get very contrarian on the slate. I know, like, they're huge underdogs, but I think they have a chance. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now on this 6-game CSGO slate. But I think that's really going to wrap it up for the video, guys, today. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I really appreciate it. Leave a like button on the video, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. We do have, I will have a PGA video up tomorrow, working on the spreadsheet now. Also, Call of Duty Champs starts Wednesday. I'll have a video up for that as well as NBA and live streaming. So I have a lot of videos to be pumping out for you guys. So if you guys enjoy the esports videos, really show some love, hit that like button. And if enough people watch it, I'll continue to make these videos. So thanks again, guys. Hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you all